Welcome to Happy on Purpose. I'm your host, Janesse Pearson. Today I'm joined by Nicole Greenstreet, a counselor who supports people in navigating life's challenges with more clarity, self-awareness, and emotional steadiness. We're talking about the real human side of growth, how we move through stress, relationships, and the patterns that keep showing up in our lives, and what it actually takes to shift them. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Great introduction.
Thanks. I'm so glad you're here. I love interviewing therapists.
Yes.
This is where I'm landing. So for those that are just meeting you, can you share a little about yourself, about who you are, and the work that you do currently?
Sure. Okay, big question. I'll try to keep us down a good road here. So I grew up in Kamloops. I'm actually from Kamloops originally.
Okay.
I lived there up until about 2 years ago, and then I made the move to the Okanagan. But when I was in Kamloops, I worked in the university there. And
that's TRU?
TRU,
Yep.
yes. Really enjoyed it. I did so many different roles. My favorite one was working in the sexualized violence office. So I worked there for close to 2 years. Yes, heavy work, but really a lot of great and rewarding work. Dealing with all things consent and relationships, and I'll try not to whack anything of my mics, but
okay.
Lots of outreach too and reporting process, and I really enjoyed it, and I worked with a lot of women there. And then I also worked in the counseling office at the university as well. So I worked with students aged like 17, 18, all the way up until like 40s, 50s, dealing with kind of anything and everything. Whatever walked through the door, like it was anybody's guess.
Wow.
Yeah. So
keep you on your toes.
It was. I often equate it to like mental gymnastics is kind of what it felt like. It was fun. It was also very tiring. But it was great. So I left that, moved to the Okanagan, lived in Kelowna for about 1.5 years. And I'm new here to Vernon. I've only been here a few months.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm brand new. I'm getting the sense it's like Kamloops kind of, but a bit smaller. So when I moved to Vernon, I opened my private practice, and I've been loving it. I work mostly with women, so I deal a lot with women's mental health, kind of anything and everything, anxiety, depression, the works.
Right.
Lots of trauma as well with that sexualized background.
Yeah.
And I'm dipping my toes into some postpartum work in maternal mental health.
So needed.
So needed here for sure. But yeah, when I'm not in my counselor cardigan, I like I like watching reality TV is my go-to. I binge it. I tell everybody that. I drink a lot of coffee. I'm on my second coffee here today, like I said. It's a lavender one, calming.
Right, calming caffeine.
Yes, exactly.
Oxymoron.
It might be, yeah. Being outside, yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell, I guess. Long, short.
Well, welcome to Vernon.
Thank you.
You know, it's interesting your background. Like, it makes perfect sense that you're in private practice for sure.
Yeah.
There's not like we shared earlier before we press play or press record. I never wanted to do any of that really heavy stuff. I think it's a very specific type of person that can balance that and handle that work.
Yeah, it so is. Like, I get asked that a lot. How do you hear all those stories and then kind of go home and be okay? And it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of like rituals at the end of the day to feel kind of okay, to be like, and some stories stick with you. Like, there are some times where I go home and it's like, whoa, that was a heavy day.
That was heavy.
Yeah, but I really like it. I like the challenge of it. I like helping people through some of the toughest spots in their lives. I find really, really beneficial. So
yeah,
I love it.
Good for you for doing that work.
Thank you.
Before you started at TRU, what led you into counseling?
Yeah, good question. So I have loved psychology for forever. I remember when I was in high school, and it was the first opportunity to take a psychology class, and I was all over it. I was like renting books at the library. I was already setting my career, picking out schools I would go to.
Yeah.
I was just so into it. And when I went into university in my undergrad, I actually focused on forensic psychology.
Interesting.
Yeah, my favorite. Oh my gosh. And I was such a Dateline buff. I feel like it's cliche, but
Absolutely.
I loved.
You love CSI, Dateline, whatever.
I did. Yeah, forever. Yeah. So all of my background was focused on forensics. I did a thesis on forensics. I was a research assistant. It was like everything. That was what I was going to go into. But when I was in my undergrad, I had the opportunity to work at the wellness center at the university. And for those that don't know, this is at TRU as well. The wellness center was a place of belonging for students. You could go in and have a cup of tea and talk with a peer mentor and color and kind of the works. And I was one of those peer mentors. And I remember thinking like that was the best part of my day, connecting with people, talking with them, giving them kind of supports and referrals and things to check out was by far like the best part of my day, my week. It just made me feel so fulfilled. And so when I was choosing what to go into after my undergrad, I was like, I should listen to that and go into that. And it's been great. It's been a wonderful career for me so far.
Just following your strengths.
Exactly.
And your interest,
Exactly.
So for you never did, though, get like a forensic psychology. No, it was just, this is the path that led you here.
Yes, yeah. So I did an honors thesis in my undergrad, and that focused on forensics. But that's kind of as far as I went with that. So.
Well, I mean, any of that is going to help what you do now.
Totally.
For sure.
Yeah.
Was there a moment or a turning point that set you on this path other than being in the wellness, what'd you call it?
The wellness center.
Wellness center.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember like, okay, counseling's the goal?
Yeah. I think it was just when I was sitting with students in there. Yeah. And I really had those moments of connection and students that would be like, wow, that really helped me. And I reached out to the counseling center, or I reached out to some other student supports, and this really made a difference. And students that would come in regularly, like building that relationship with them, I loved. So I think that was kind of my aha moment. And then when I started my master's degree, I was kind of going into it and I'm like, like I've never done counseling before. That was the closest I had done. So I had it in the back of my mind of like, I'll know if it feels like a good fit. As soon as I went into it, I was like, yep, I'm home. This is it. Exactly. It felt like such a good fit. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think people, maybe it's a cliche thing to say, but we're called,
yes,
in whatever that capacity is. And I think there's sort of that misconception that everybody sort of, once a counselor, always a counselor, you know, but there's so many different ways of doing counseling, so many different modalities, so many different techniques and approaches. And I say this every time, that probably the biggest thing is the rapport with your counselor.
Yeah.
And, don't quit on getting help and support with counseling if you just didn't jive with your therapist.
Yeah.
Like, it's like anything, you have to keep, sometimes it will have run its path. What you came in to talk about maybe has shifted, and that might be out of the expertise of the therapist. Don't be afraid to say, like, I think I need something different. And most therapists will say, I think you'd be better served here.
Totally.
We're so well networked.
Yeah.
I find as counselors, I know you're in a lot of the same groups.
Yes.
And so we're always looking like, okay, well, who can take another client?
Yeah.
I didn't have this.
No, it's okay.
Are you accepting new clients at this time?
I am. So being new to Vernon and just opening up my private practice, I do have space to take folks on. So anybody looking for a counselor?
Yeah, that's important. It's important.
Yes.
What are some of the most common challenges you see people navigating right now in our little town of Vernon?
Yes, this is such a good question, and so hard for me to answer, I think, because everything is so different. Like each person that I sit with and work with, their lived experiences are so different. I think a lot of it, like especially working with mostly women, is around self-compassion, around people-pleasing, putting their needs last, trying to balance everything, being a partner, being a professional, going to school, being a mother, like doing all of that juggling and having no time for yourself at the end of the day. That's a hard one.
The mental load.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
The mental load is crazy. Yeah. So I feel like it's a lot of that, balancing stress. And then of course there's the, all the other things as well that come with that. But yeah.
So do you consider yourself more of a general practitioner of sorts? And then people just sort of find you because you work well with that population?
Yes. So whenever somebody kind of asks me what my approach is or modalities, I'm definitely trauma informed for sure. Yeah. That's my niche. But it's hard for me to pinpoint because I tell everybody, like, it really depends on the client that I'm working with. To say that I'm somebody that uses like CBT consistently, it's not going to happen. So I tend to mesh lots of different things. But I am very much like a strengths-based counselor as well. I'm going to be your woo girl. I'm going to be your cheerleader.
Yeah.
We're going to find things that make you feel fantastic. And then we're kind of going to rock and roll with that.
Yeah, because there isn't one thing. I've said this so many times. There has been some pretty weird, I'll use that word very loosely and broadly, things that have helped people. Like, and I shouldn't have said weird at all, but maybe more alternative, or, you know, like you said, woo, woo, woo. And people don't necessarily expect that in a you know, a master designated counselor position.
Yeah.
But we will use all the things.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's going to work and if somebody's resonating with it.
Yeah.
Bring your crystals.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'm like, we're going to shake out our body here right now. You're going to look silly, but we're going to do it, and it's going to feel good. And it's going to work.
If dogs do it, that's how they emotionally regulate, is by shaking, right? Exactly. There is actual science towards shaking.
Exactly.
Yeah. When people feel stuck in their lives or their relationships, what do you think is usually going on underneath that?
Mm-hmm. I think, you know, when someone feels stuck, there's something that's keeping us into this position. Something feels comfortable, something feels normal. Maybe we're in our comfort zone, but it's something holding us back from moving forward, whether that's consciously or unconsciously. So when we get out of that comfort zone and we make these big changes, like there's a lot of fear that can come with it. A lot of like uncertainty, and our brains hate uncertainty. They hate it. They want to know what's happening, when it's going to happen, and how, and every detail in between. They want it all. So if we're stuck in a situation, my mind usually goes to like, okay, well, what's keeping us stuck and what's keeping us from moving forward, whatever that might be. And if I'm working with a client that's stuck, we'll try to tease out some of that. Like, what can we do to maybe move a little bit more forward?
Just move the needle.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you find that you do a lot of like beliefs and value systems work? I think even without even knowing what that is, I think that's such a big one.
It is.
You know, what we think is quote unquote right, what we've been taught, the beliefs and values that have been handed down by our parents or our, you know, caregivers. All of that, right?
It so is. Like, I talk about the way that women are socialized and the things that we learn and the things that we're taught and how we're supposed to be. And those really do, they like anchor our values, whether we want them to or not, even if it feels like it's holding us back. And there's so much learning and unlearning that we do together in therapy of like, okay, is that still your value, or is it something that you were just kind of told you have to stick with, and now we're kind of rolling with it?
Are you using Tide just because your parents use Tide? You know, no, I'm not paid by Tide. But you know, it's
shameless plug.
Right. It's like I always remember, you know, why did somebody cut the ends off of the roast?
Yes.
You know, and it's like what finally in the family they started to ask, why do we do this?
Yeah.
And it was literally because great grandma didn't have a pan big enough. So she cut the ends off. Right. There was no real reason for it other than it was convenient. And I think when we get into our mental minds, sometimes that's pulling that apart.
Yes.
Right? Of like, why are you doing the things you do?
Yeah.
And that we get real comfortable, like you said, with the things that are familiar.
Yes.
So if chaos and confusion and heightened, you know, home life or whatever, that feels natural, you may start attracting.
Yes.
Because that feels like home.
Yes. Yeah.
So relationships can be crazy making, you know.
That's exactly it. And a lot of people are like, well, I didn't like how that felt or how that experienced. Why is it that I keep choosing to be in that? And it's like, well, you don't necessarily choose it. You're not being like, that looks chaotic. Let me go into that. But it does feel familiar, right?
Yes.
And there's some like, there's some safety in that of when it feels familiar and we're going into it.
Even the uncertainty.
Exactly.
The uncertainty starts to feel familiar, you know, and then that heightened awareness and hypervigilance. And we could talk about
we can go on and on
all
about
day, all day. You work closely with emotions. What do you think most people misunderstand about their emotional world? I mean, we just kind of touched on some of it, but it's such a juicy topic.
We did.
Our emotional world.
It is. I think a lot of people feel like their emotions are good or bad.
Right.
It's the positive, it's the negative. When we're feeling scared, when we're feeling sad, it's a bad thing and I shouldn't be, feeling it. I should try to get rid of it as soon as I can. And you and I both know, like, that's not true.
That's not true.
Right? Our emotions have purpose. They have tasks. They have things that they're trying to make us do. If we're scared, it's because, we sense that something is wrong and it's driving us away from the thing. It's not that it's a bad thing. It's not that sadness is awful. They really have purpose. Same with like happiness and joy and excitement. If I'm super excited to go skydiving, it's going to propel me forward to go and do skydiving because it seems great. And our brain's like, fantastic.
Yeah.
So when we really peel back that kind of bias surrounding our emotions, that can be really helpful in our healing journey, in our work that we do, in our everyday life. When we start to just look at them as like, okay, it's just a feeling based off of something that I'm experiencing. And it's going to be short-lived. It's not going to stick with me for days and days and days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think of just emotional weather. I mean, sunny days might be your favorite. So then that's happy for you. But there's some people, I think there's a name for it. It's called pluviophiles.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't really love the name. But there are people that really love and embrace rain.
I love the rain.
Right?
Maybe I'm that.
Maybe you are. So there is, even how we label our emotions and the emotional weather. But even like weather, rain feeds and nourishes all the plants.
Exactly.
We need all the emotions. They can be warning signs.
Yes.
They hold so much information.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly it.
I think you're so accurate though. We want to talk mostly about joy and happiness.
Yeah.
Hence the name of this show, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And in some ways it's a bit of a hook because everybody wants happiness.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone, what do you want? And you're like, I just want to be happy. Yeah. What do you want for your children? I just want them to be happy.
Yes.
And we're like, okay, but with that comes all the other emotions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. I don't know if you've ever heard of, but I believe it's Russ Harris wrote The Happiness Trap. Talks a lot about how we are kind of conditioned to believe that happiness should be our default. It should be what we're striving towards every minute of the day, but we are not wired to be like that.
No.
The kind of neutral emotion is like maybe content or something of that system, but to be happy every second of the day, we would get nothing done.
Right.
We would just be kind of like drifting around on the
very
clouds.
Hedonic.
Exactly. But yeah.
No, I love actually The Happiness Trap. There's a lot of great books. They sort of fall under, like you said, strength-based, but also positive psychology.
Yes.
Steve Braun, he does the ripple effect here. He's a counselor here too, and he's solution-focused. I can never get it right. Solution-focused. Brief therapy. Thank you.
Yes.
There's so many acronyms. Oh,
I know,
Lord,
it's crazy.
But yeah, so I'm sensing you kind of fall into that category.
I do, yes. Yeah. For sure.
How can someone begin to build more awareness of their patterns without being overly self-critical? Because and women, good Lord, we do that, right?
Oh, for sure.
Inner speaking of to ourselves is just toxic.
It's crazy. I know. I do the exact same thing. Oops, as I hit my mic.
That's okay.
I do the exact same thing, being critical of like, well, why did I do that? Why do I feel this way? Why would I say that? Why? Staying up till 2 a.m. thinking about that thing you said 8 years ago to your friend. Like,
so classic.
And
they don't remember.
No.
And it didn't hit them the same way.
No.
We gotta let it go.
Exactly.
Let it go.
But it's hard because things that usually we're critical about are things that we feel are really important to us. Like relationships and friendships and all of those things, right? We want to be perceived as a nice and great person. And when we do things that go against it, then it's a huge thing for us, but super normal. So what I talk with clients a lot about is how we soften it a little bit. How do we soften that inner dialogue even a little bit? Go from saying, I'm so dumb for doing that. I'm so stupid. Why would I ever say that? So ridiculous. To like, okay, I said the thing. Yeah, maybe not my best moment. And that's okay. Nobody hates me for it. The world is not ending because of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be okay. When I worked with kids for a bit when I was in Kelowna. And we used to do the like investigator, right? We're going to pretend to be investigators and look at this thing because investigators aren't biased. They don't think that this was bad and terrible or this was fantastic and amazing. They're going to look at the thing with no emotion tied to it, just as an observer. So that's kind of how we want to look at things, is like, how can I just pause and reflect on this and sit with this and see how it went down or how it landed for me without immediately jumping to, I'm terrible.
Excellent.
Easier said than done. Takes a lot of practice.
Yes, practice makes perfect.
Exactly. But that's kind of how we try to move forward with it. And that's something that, you know, you can practice with a therapist, like we can work on for a while until it becomes routine, right? It's a habit. So
yeah, that observer position. Yes. I love that you said that. I've said too, is the mind, you mentioned it earlier too, the mind loves a good mystery.
Yes.
So if you tell it, you know, I'm constantly failing, you know, why do I keep putting my foot in my mouth?
Yes.
I can't be trusted in this, you know, environment, whatever.
Yeah.
We need to really be the observer of that and say, well, how much of this is true?
Yeah.
Is this really true?
Yeah.
You know, and I agree with you. It is so easier said than done.
Yes.
Those patterns are so entrenched and they're so much a part of our society.
Yes.
Right? The good girl, be a good girl.
Yes, 100%. Right? You have to do everything and be everybody.
And love is conditional.
Yes.
On you being those things.
Right.
And the one thing that I remember clients saying, I just want to be loved unconditionally.
Yeah.
Well, okay, why don't you start with yourself?
Yes.
Can you love yourself unconditionally?
Right. RuPaul said it best. If you can't love yourself, how the heck are you going to love anybody else?
Right.
You know, it's very that. And I think there is a level that we can love other people and still want to work on ourselves and still have that task to feel like I need to better myself. But that self-compassion, that self-love does come from within, right? Yeah. If we're constantly relying on other people to give it to us, then we're kind of missing the mark here. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think once you get that, you just portray yourself so much differently.
Yeah.
And we see that when you're having a good day.
Yes.
Just be so aware of how much better everything goes.
Yes.
When you feel a little lighter on yourself.
Yes.
A little less critical of yourself.
Yeah.
You walk in the world a little different. And
100%.
then the people respond to you differently.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
And we are always of the mindset of like you said, it's almost like this confirmation bias that we have. If I believe I'm a terrible person and I do everything wrong and I make all these mistakes, then we're kind of going to be assessing for that all over the place. What did I do wrong today? Right? Whereas if I have a bit more confidence and think, well, I'm this multifaceted person that can do really great things, and yeah, I make mistakes and that's okay, then it's much easier for us to pick up on it and feel confident and comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me think of relationship repair. You know, we don't realize that you can actually go back. You can actually say it, and specifically for even to our children. I know this was one for me is, you know, you're not having a great day. Yes. You get home, you're frantic, you're frazzled. The kids love them, but they're loud, and then they leave something out and you snap.
Yes.
So then we go to our mommy timeout chairs, and it's, I'm a horrible parent.
Yeah.
You know, we can go back in relationship repair. We can sit down, and it's so good to teach, I think, to say, I messed up. Yeah. I had a bad day. Yeah. You know, and that then rolls into emotion regulation, owning our behaviors, like all of that. There's just so many good little things that come out of, you know, being in therapy. I think everybody should have a therapist. I think we need to make it really cool. Like in California, it's cool. Yeah, right. You know, the celebrities have a therapist. We should have them.
I know. I agree. I'm trying to make it cool. I'm doing reels on Instagram and things like that. Trying to be like the cool, not scary therapist.
Good for you. Because there's a lot of people that want that. We're not. There's not the old brown couch and the, you know, you joked about cardigans. We wear them because they're comfortable.
Yes,
but
I get a little drafty. Like
that's right. But yeah, no, I feel like counseling has just it's been so opened up.
Yes, it has.
Yeah, and there's people that do, you know, walk-in talks, or even the offices look very different now. They're not this dim lit room with whatever, which is great if you need it that way, because sometimes the heavier emotions require that calmer, less stimulus. But yeah. I shouldn't have counselors on the show.
It'll be an hour.
Goodness gracious. In your experience, what's the difference between coping and actually healing?
Okay, I love this. Very vastly different things, but we kind of need them both to
Mhm.
move forward and process something hard that's happened. So to me, coping is very like in the moment, right? Something bad has happened. What can I do to kind of
Mhm.
keep moving forward? And people have so many different coping mechanisms. Like, it's wild. None are bad, none are good. Some are maybe a bit more helpful than the others. But they're all just kind of our brain being like, how do we keep like trucking along and move past this? Healing is so much longer. So if we think of coping as kind of the micro level, the smaller portion of it, healing is that macro level, that zoom out, that longer process. You know, we talk about like healing is not being linear, and I know that's kind of like the all over the sweaters, all over the t-shirts, like posts and whatever.
Very
but
cliche right now.
it is. It is. But it is really true. And I'm going to say that it's accurate, because the coping in the moment, yes, and the healing long term, we move kind of in and out of it. So I have a lot of people that come to me that are like, I healed, I processed this event that was 10 years ago. Now I'm having to use my coping skills again.
Yes.
Because it's come back up and something has triggered me or activated me. Why is it that I have to go through this again? Why do I have to heal again? But I mean, it's a historical event. It's something that's happened to you. We can't erase it. So a lot of times, you know, that healing process does have dips and corners and moves left and right and
Swirls,
up and down. Yeah, right. We're popping wheelies around it. Like it's, you know, so that's kind of my long and short of it, of like coping in the moment, healing much longer term. Healing, usually we, you know, I'd recommend doing it with a therapist, but maybe I'm biased. But it really takes a lot more work and energy to move through the coping.
Yeah, I think that the healing is forever too.
It is.
You know, we are complex beings.
Yeah.
So even if it's like, oh, I thought I had healed this, that narrative of that one and done.
Yes.
It just doesn't apply to our bodies and our minds. We are accumulation of all of the events, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yes, exactly.
So I think even just switching that up a little to say, you know, this is not, we won't heal you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if you have diabetes, you might need to continuously take insulin.
Yes.
And you may come across a sugar low or something.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same way with our inner world.
Yes.
And why I think it's so important to have somebody safe to process with is because we can make that timeline a little shorter to getting you back on track, where you feel more, I don't want to say in control, but more balanced.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. I love your definitions. That it's so true. And even the coping is instant. It's there's an imminent danger. What do we need to do right now?
Yes.
And sometimes that looks like drugs, alcohol, shopping.
Yes.
Zoning out, disassociating, whatever it's going to be.
Exactly.
You know, Gabor Mate always says it's more about how you're interpreting what's happening to you.
100%.
Yeah. And so the coping's not bad.
No, not at all.
It's a message. It's information.
Yes, exactly. And a lot of people establish those coping mechanisms like early on in childhood even. And then it's like, why do I do this? And when we peel back those layers, it's like, well, this was the easiest and safest thing for you to do when you were a kid or a young adult, or when this happened to you. So that's why we're going to keep going back at it, right? It's habitual. It's kind of ingrained.
Yeah. It's become a part of your way of being in the world.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it.
I didn't ask you this in your questions.
That's okay.
To prepare for it.
No, fire away.
But when you think of coping, we kind of touched on it, but what do you think about that? Do you think there is such thing as a bad coping strategy? So when somebody is engaging in things that are unhealthy for them, is that the time to come and see you? Or if we recognize them, would it be beneficial to come prior, before they're activated? Like, I'm thinking of people that are like, I always do this thing.
Yes.
You know, you don't have to wait to get to that place.
Right.
We can come in and do some pre-event, what do you call it?
Yes.
Pre-work.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
I'm like, I'm
so educated. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. First part of the question, coping mechanisms, good or bad. I really, of course, some coping mechanisms are maybe not the most useful. And that's usually the language that I use, right? Because we never want to tie shame to it. If someone is using drugs and alcohol to cope with something, obviously it was very traumatic and it was very deep. It was a deep cut or a deep wound for them. And that's the only thing that keeps them going. And that's the only thing that puts them on to the next day. And there's no shame in that. Yes, we might want to explore maybe some healthier options, maybe some things that would be more beneficial, but good or bad, I don't know. I don't know if I buy into it. Coming beforehand, before we're in the storm. Now, I'm a huge advocate for this.
Yes.
Because when we're super activated, when something has set us off, when we're at an 11 and we're super stressed out, we are not in a place that feels okay to process.
Right.
That feels like we can tap into all those things or talk about all the things, right? We're again in that like coping. I'm just trying to get, yes.
Fight, flight, freeze, fawn, I think now we have.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So huge advocate to come in beforehand. And then we can try to set up some things of like, hey, if this happens again, if we get into a space that we need to cope, here's maybe some things we're going to try a little bit differently. And we can think about it a bit more critically. You know, our frontal lobes are online. We're feeling great. All of that, all the science talk.
Yeah. Get out of your amygdala.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So yes, I mean, you don't have to wait until you're in the thick of it. Definitely come in and we can talk about all the things.
Yeah. And it's not like you're going to get told, well, we need to see you 4 times a week, because it can be expensive for people that don't have benefits.
Yes.
But for women, we get, I stop, but nails, hair,
yes.
I'm at that age of growing out my grays. I don't love it.
Yeah, fair enough.
But we choose what we spend our money on.
Yes.
And, if your coping strategies are one that takes money, why not see it as, okay, well, I'm going to use this money to invest in myself.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like I tell everybody that comes in, I'm never going to prescribe you to come 2, 3, 4 times a week, because I wouldn't do that. That would be a lot of money for me to go and see a therapist.
And a lot emotionally. Like that's a lot of energy to
Exactly. So I tell everybody, like, it's really what you want. It's what you want. It's what you're comfortable with. I know that it can be expensive. So I see clients, some I see once a week, some I see once a month, some I see like they just come for a check-in every couple of months.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? I would say if we're dealing with stuff that is really, really activating and really, really challenging and really at the forefront of your mind right now, we might want to see you a little bit more often than like once every 6 months.
Yes. Like anything.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But I agree, it can be really expensive. I am a registered clinical counselor, so and I know a lot of folks that operate here are either registered or registered social workers. And so what that usually means is people can submit to insurance as well, and there is coverage. So
which is amazing.
It is, yeah.
And I feel like with FACT BC talk coming into British Columbia, I think that will open that up too. There'll be more options for insurance companies to say, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
If our folks aren't well mentally, we don't get as much work done. We're not even like as far as workplace goes.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
I was thinking when you were talking about, do you buy into the notion that everything stems from childhood? In order to be a productive therapist, we're going to have to deep dive into your childhood, open some old wounds. I know it's such a tread lightly, Nicole.
I know.
The listeners are like, yeah, what does she think about that?
Okay, this is such a deep question. I do think some things do come from our childhood.
I agree.
I think, when we have a lot of trauma, I think there's a lot of ties back to how we were raised and our attachment and all of that stuff, right? What we were witness to, whatever, what we experienced. I don't know that everything has to be from that, or that every time we talk about things, we have to dive deep and like think about what your mother said to you or your connection with your father. Like, we don't have to do that.
Not everything's mommy issues or daddy issues.
No.
It can be childhood bullying. It can be something that happened at school.
Yes.
Somebody this is not parent shaming.
No.
To say that we're looking back into our childhood, it's what you did with the information.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I think a lot of those like initial not trauma, but like initial hard experiences for folks are in childhood. And I think, you know, as much as we want to say that childhood is amazing for everybody and fantastic, and we do our best to make it great, we do, but there's also things that happen
that are out of our control.
Yes, and that stay
weather,
with us.
Economy, job loss, pandemics.
Yes.
You know, my kid, one of my daughters, she was a pandemic grad.
Oh, wow.
Like that was a huge thing.
Yeah.
To miss out on that pivotal moment.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
Those things, those interpretations.
Is exactly it. Yeah.
So, I threw that at you too.
Sorry. That's okay. No, that was a great question. Yeah. Thank you.
I do this more for my own benefit. Like, okay, what are people thinking? I was also thinking, do you offer a sliding scale?
I do.
Okay.
Kind of depending.
Yeah, of course. But you have to need it. We're not going to take away from people that really can't afford.
For sure.
And there are so many other services. I say this often. There's a lot of other free services in town.
Yes.
That can be accessed. I know the wait lists are long. Don't come after me.
They are crazy.
But yes, we do know that. And then do you offer online and Zoom for people that maybe are outside of the Vernon area?
Yes. So I am in person 1 day a week. I share an office actually with other amazing counselors, the Okanagan Wellness and Counseling Building. Shout out to them.
Nice.
So I'm in there Wednesdays, and then the rest of the week I offer virtually. So I do Zoom. Folks in Kamloops, Kelowna, like kind of all over the map. So yeah, I do that.
We can get in with you.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You're taking new clients because you're new to Vernon.
And I have online booking, and I'm also CVAP approved. So
wonderful. Crime
Victim Assistance Program. So if anybody who is listening has that and is looking for a counselor, I also support with that too.
That's a great program too.
Yes.
I can't even believe it.
Oh my goodness.
I know. How did we kill this much time? So if somebody has never been to counseling before, what might surprise them about the experience?
Yes. Okay. Good question. When I was trying to reflect on this, and I'll try to make it kind of quick, but I was thinking about actually my first experience with counseling. So the first time I ever saw a counselor, I was in my undergrad, and I needed some support. And I remember waiting in the waiting room and feeling terrified, so scared to go in. And most people experience that. Most people I see, they come into my room and they are like nervous beyond belief and so frightened. So I want you to kind of recognize and remember that, one, it doesn't have to be a scary process. I tell everybody, like, you are kind of the captain of this ship. You are driving it. I'm just here to like navigate and offer some supports and some tools and maybe bring us down a couple different directions. But you're really in control of it. Like, it's your time. Yeah. If there's things that you ever don't want to talk about or ask a question and you're like, no, that's off limits, you know, I might poke around and be like, okay, why?
Why?
You know?
Yeah.
Just for curiosity.
Yeah.
But you get to kind of choose what we talk about and what we don't talk about, the speed that we go, all of that stuff. So it's a huge one. And I think the other thing is that your counselors are human. I'm human. We get this mindset that counselors and doctors and all these people are like superhuman. They're not going to relate to anything that we've got going on. They're going to judge us and be scary. Odds are I've probably experienced similar things that you have.
Yes.
I will know exactly how you feel, and I'm just a regular gal.
Yeah.
You know?
it's just a skill set and training, you know, in a lot of ways. I mean, definitely a certain type of person gets drawn into this industry, but it's because there is a genuine care and love for people and wanting them to be thriving.
Yes.
So even just knowing that is that when you go to see your counselor for the first time, they're there for you.
Yes.
This is you're the utmost importance.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
I'm there to kind of be your rock star and your cheerleader.
Yes. And a soft place to land, which, you know, is so important in this age.
Exactly.
Yeah. On a more personal note, we're already skipping to the last
That's
question.
okay.
On a more personal note, what does living happy on purpose mean to you in this season of your life?
Okay. I think for me, trying not to live in autopilot, because I find and I'm sure you experience this too, and everybody else listening
It's
experiences
life.
this. But we just get into these routines of like work and business stuff and home and grocery shopping and and then suddenly it's nighttime and you're going to bed and you do it all over again.
Yeah.
So I am trying to really mindfully like disengage from the grind sometimes.
Oh, I love that. Disengage
Thank
from
you.
the grind.
Trademark.
Yes. That is from Nicole Greenstreet.
Thank you. Cite me. But trying to be like more mindful and have more moments of like softness and mindfulness, whether that's like if I'm going for a walk, taking off my headphones and listening to the birds chirping, or like making an extra fun coffee in the morning instead of just like my regular, go-to coffee, or whatever that might be, right? Trying to be a little bit softer with myself and have a little bit more mindfulness. And that's really what brings me happiness.
Yeah. I think just to add to that, with counselors, we're always doing our own work too.
100%.
So it's not like you got this education, you're now, master's level and all this. Every day is the work.
Yes,
every day is the work.
Yeah, I had someone ask me recently, like, well, how much school did you do to be a counselor? And I'm like, okay, well, this many years. And also, like, I'm continuing. Yeah, daily. I'm reading stuff. I'm reading articles. I'm looking at videos, like doing trainings. It's an ongoing thing.
We have our own professional development plans that have to be adhered to. So it's part of the job.
Exactly.
Is to try to stay as up to date and as well as we can.
Exactly.
Yeah, I say we, like I'm still doing this.
You are.
Yeah, I think you can take the office out of the girl or whatever, but you can't take the therapist out of the office.
Exactly.
All right. Well, this has been Happy on Purpose with Nicole Greenstreet. If something in this conversation resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on what stood out and maybe one small shift you can make this week. You can learn more about Nicole and her work at NicoleGreenstreetCounseling.ca. And a big one for us in Canada is counseling as the 2 L's.
Yes.
So you have to make sure it's Nicole Greenstreet Counseling, just like it sounds.
Yes.
Thanks for listening. And as always, here's to living happy on purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.